story begins in the Demon King's castle. The ruler of Pride, Merlin Lucifer, was quietly sleeping on his throne. His sister Lilith arrives and got excited upon seeing him sleep. She went close, as it's rare to see her brother sleeping, so she wants to take this opportunity to kiss him. And as she was about to kiss him, she gets interrupted by a church squad that demands the Demon King to come out and fight them. Lilith gets annoyed at their ruckus, but still leans in for a kiss, but a finger stopped her. Merlin is awake and asks her what is she doing. She tried to bite his finger, but he retracts it in time and flick her head. She was muttering that just a little more and she would have gotten to the lips. Merlin smirked and suddenly pulled her towards him. He said that no one in the world can land a surprise attack on him. Lilith was enjoying this moment, but noises from outside interrupts her mood, so she pulled out a whip and declares that she'll get rid of them. But she was stopped by Merlin, who told her not to lose her temper over some small fries. His smile deepened as he decides that since they came looking for trouble on the last day of his reign, so he will personally send them to the afterlife. Merlin and Lilith then went outside to see the intruders. On the battlefield, Merlin's minions were fighting against the human soldiers and adventurers. Merlin then looked at a silver-haired woman and figured that she's the hero of this generation. She was easily defeating the monsters, but Merlin thought that she is weak. A giant worm appeared and attacked the soldiers, but Hero's Ice Lance destroys the giant monster easily. She announced that she is the 233rd hero Alice Claudia, and she'll defeat the Demon King. Bishop is angry at the useless peasants who are hindering the hero's advance. His assistant said that the peasants are just cannon fodder, and once they all die, the church army will claim victory. However, he's worried about whether the hero can defeat the Demon King. The bishop laughed and said that it's fine. Even if the hero loses to the Demon King, they still have their secret weapon hidden in the skies. Alice noticed that the vanguard squad is overwhelmed by the monsters, so she moves to save them. But suddenly the bishop summoned the weapon that the church has been preparing for 100 years. And to everyone's surprise, a large flying whale appeared in the sky. Even the hero thought, just what kind of horrifying monster is that? The bishop then ordered the whale to attack. This shocked Alice, as this attack will even wipe out the vanguard squad. Merlin heard the sound of the human soldiers shouting that they will not make it. The whale attacked, but to everyone's surprise, Merlin stopped the attack. He announced that he is the only person to decide who lives or dies. Bishop shouted that this is impossible. How could an attack that's even more powerful than the Holy Arcanery be blocked? His assistant said that the Demon King is much more powerful than they imagined, so they should retreat. But the bishop didn't listen and said that the white whale body was made using all kind of metals, and it has been blessed by the goddess. He then ordered White Whale to crush Lucifer with its body. Lucifer laughed and unsheathed his blade to attack the whale. And as the whale attacked Lucifer, he cut it in half. This shocked Bishop and all the soldiers. Even the hero realized that the Demon King Lucifer is extremely powerful. Lucifer then looked at the soldiers and announced that he is the first Demon King and he shall grant glorious deaths to them. Bishop then asked the hero to save them. She dashed toward Lucifer and challenged him to a duel, but Lucifer just smiled and attacked the soldiers. And with just one slash, he killed all the remaining soldiers along with Bishop and his assistant. In front of Lucifer's overwhelming attack, only the unconscious hero remained. And that was how the curtain closed upon the final battle of Demon King Merlin's reign. Merlin Lucifer, he is an otherworlder, who was summoned into this world by the altar. And due to the fact that he was born possessing a huge amount of power, he became the third owner of the first demon palace, the ruler of Pride. However, Merlin was also born with a curse. His lifespan shortens, as he suffers from heartaches at every moment of his life. However, every cloud has a silver lining. Merlin possesses a demon sword called Eternum. This sword augments its user's life force each time it is used to slay powerful enemies. Hence, Merlin was able to use the sword to temporarily alleviate the effects of his curse. The stronger the enemy, the greater the effects. Hence, Merlin hoped that he would one day meet with the strongest person in the world. Merlin believed that his curse will be lifted the moment he defeats the strongest person in the world. And after killing the church soldiers, he thought that he should head outside, as his services are no longer needed in the demon castle. Lilith was not happy with this decision, as she cried and begged Merlin to not go. Merlin explained that if he continued to stay in the castle, the curse on his heart will kill him, and he doesn't want his sister to see that. Lilith then suggests Merlin to kill her so his lifespan can be extended. but Merlin scolded her and said that there is no way he could do that to his sister. Merlin smiled and said that he loved his sister so much, and as soon as his curse will be lifted, he will return to her. Unable to handle Merlin's words, Lilith agreed to let him go. But she warned him that there are a lot of brazen hussies outside, and if he bewitched by them, then she will kill them all. And after saying his last goodbye, Merlin prepared to leave. But before leaving, he noticed the hero Alice sleeping carelessly. So he decides to take her with him and picked her up. And in front of Lilith's murderous aura, he explained that he is just taking her as a slave so she can help him in the outside world. And after Merlin left, Lilith was happy thinking that he just proposed her. She then decides to complete her bridal training before Merlin returns. Meanwhile, Merlin was carrying Alice on his back. Unconsciously, Alice was remembering about her past. When she was leaving the mountains where she lived, her master told her that she is still not ready for the outer world. But she didn't listen and still left. She easily bought into the words of flattery coming from the bishop and other people. And when Merlin defeated the giant whale, she realized that defeating the Demon King was her wishful thinking. Merlin then reached the end of the island and found all the boat destroyed. He put down Alice and went to look for a boat so they can leave the island. After Merlin left, some liquid fell on Alice's face and she woke up. She opened her eyes and found a demon wolf in front of her eyes. The demon wolf was about to attack her, but Merlin arrived on time and saved her. He declared that this girl is under his possession, so he won't allow the wolf to eat her. Alice was looking at Merlin trying to protect her, and she felt something in her heart. Merlin calmed down the wolf and sent it away, and as he went close to Alice, she assumed a battle stance. Alice thinks that Merlin has fallen for her beauty and wants to defile her. She attacked Merlin with full force, but Merlin stopped her attack with just 2 fingers. He held her chin and told her that from this moment, her body belongs to him. But Alice hit his hand and said that she will never bow her head to an evil being like him. Merlin laughed and replied that he is her kidnapper, so the only option she has is to submit herself to him. He said that once he will have her body, he will do very unreasonable and inhumane things to her. Alice thought that Merlin is going to use her as a breeding sow to raise his demon offspring. She tried to stop him from touching her, but Merlin picked her up and threw her in a boat. Alice put the sword on her neck and warned Merlin to not get close or she will kill herself. Merlin looked at the oar and stepped on it to hit Alice. He was thinking that how did a dumb chick like her become a hero? Alice looked at him with teary eyes and told him to do the things if he is horny, but he can't get violent with her. But Merlin laughed at her and made fun of her flat breasts. He then pointed toward the oars and said that they are going to cross the seas to enter the territory of Great Britain. Alice called him stupid and explained that even with the warships, it took a lot of time and people for them to reach this island. Also, there are a lot of sea creatures in the sea who will kill them in an instant. So that's why it is impossible for 2 of them to take turns rowing across the Strait of Ochani, as they won't make it out alive. Merlin laughed and said that she is misunderstanding something. He said that he already told her that he's going to have her body do some unreasonable and inhumane things, so the only one rowing is she. And as for himself, he will stand in front and enjoy the cool sea breeze. With a dumb look on her face, she shouted. 3 days later, Merlin was still standing at the front, while Alice was muttering as why haven't any of the sea creatures attacked them yet. Merlin told her the reason that a big one is following them, that's why the rest of the small fries are choosing to keep their distance. Suddenly, the sea monster emerged from the bottom of their boat. Alice knows that the monster is called the Overlord of Orkney, and even though Merlin is strong, he won't be able to defeat the Overlord. Merlin then pointed toward the beast and said that isn't the monster just too ugly. He laughed at the monster by saying that for such a thick neck, its head is way too small. This angered the beast as it dashed toward them, but Merlin cut the beast in half with a single strike. He then pulled the cheeks of shocked Alice and ordered her to keep rowing. He said that the monster blood will lure the man-eating sharks, so if she don't want to become shark bait, then she should move quickly. Alice concluded that Merlin is strong on land and even on the ocean, so she could not allow him to arrive in a country of humans. She then asked him why did he left the demon palace. Merlin then told her a made-up reason that he was bored in the castle. Alice asked if he can tell her how did he become this strong. Merlin then revealed his past to her. His mother was the second ruler of people, and also known as the Lucifer II. But in the church 197th Campion, she got killed in the battle. He and his sister could only rely on each other, so he decided to become strong and protect his sister. He slew the ancient giant demon in the snowy mountains, battled against the bull-headed sorcerer in the forest, and even fought to the death with the infernal demon. And at last, he killed the demon who was oppressing his sister, and become the new Demon King. He then told her to keep rowing, and thinks that it was a right decision to left the palace, as after defeating the monster, his heart eased up a bit. And he also thinks that when he is around with this dumb hero, somehow his heart feels more calm. After traveling for several days, they reached the land, but Merlin was not sure if this is the land of Great Britain. He asked Alice why can't he see any village around here. Alice came out with all her strength and crawled off the boat. She was cursing Merlin to make her row the boat for the entire journey. She promised to take revenge once she learned the ice secret arts from her master. Merlin went close to her and reminded her that she is his slave. And after a bit of torture, Alice shouted that this really is the Great Britain, it's just that this isn't the port. Merlin then said goodbye to her, and as he was leaving, a thought crossed his mind. He thinks that to survive in a human country, he will need money and he don't have a single dime on him. He then turned his head towards Alice with sparkle in his eyes. He remembered that when he was carrying her on his back, he felt a mithril armor on her chest. And if he can get his hand on that armor, he will be able to sell it for a lot of money. He quickly ran towards Alice and said that parting like this breaks his heart, so she can offer him her most precious thing. Alice asked what does he want from her now. Merlin then ordered her to strip, and with her teary eyes, Alice told him that it's her first time, so please be gentle with her. But Merlin took her armor and made fun of her flat chest again. And after taking the armor, he said goodbye to her and left. Left alone in the wasteland, the only thing Alice could do is curse him. A year later, in the outskirts of Wales, Britain, two bandits were hiding on a tree in hope to catch someone. One of the bandits informed his senior that a man is coming, but it looks like he hasn't eaten for days and is wearing rags. His senior looked at the man and laughed while looking at a poster in his hand. He said that looks can be deceiving as he threw the poster away. The man was none other than Merlin, who hasn't eaten for days. The same poster came flying on his face. Merlin checked the poster and realized that he is a wanted criminal for a few dime dashes. He realized that the human world is such a pain, as after he spent all his money, he can't even eat food. Suddenly, he got stopped by the bandits, but he ignored them and tried to leave. But the bandits angrily stopped him and threatened him to leave his valuable behind and run. But Merlin told them to not disturb him or he will kill them both. One of the bandits then decides to show him his skill. He threw an apple in the sky, and the bandit peeled the apple with his sword. Merlin, who hadn't eaten from several days, was waiting for the apple to fall down so he can eat it. The bandit then dashed toward Merlin, but Merlin first catched the apple and then killed the bandit. As soon as his partner died, the other bandit ran to save his life. Suddenly, the dead body of the bandit changed into a goblin. Merlin realized that the goblins are disguising themselves as bandits, so they can fool the Empire's army. But as it's none of his business, Merlin didn't think about it and left. Meanwhile, the other goblin reached its hideout and asked to have an audience with His Majesty. Inside the hideout, his leader asked the goblin about the money. The goblin apologized as he wasn't able to rob anyone. The goblin then explained to his leader that Ragu Senpai was killed by a human. That human didn't even draw his sword, yet killed Senpai. His leader laughed and said that it looks like that humans are starting a war with the goblins. Merlin entered the city bustling with activities. He paid his last 2 copper coins to pay the tariff, so he decided to look for a job. He remembered the past when he stole the hero's armor. He sold the armor and lived in a private manor and even hired butlers and maids. All his meals were prepared by chefs from high-end restaurants. He even visited race courses and bet extravagantly, though he had never won once. And when he came back to his senses, he realized that he spent all of his money and even racked up a huge debt. And as he was used to his lifestyle, he continued to visit high-end restaurants and do dine dashes. In the end, he became a fugitive, so he started living a life on the run from his creditors. And now, his condition is so bad that the Demon King of the first palace is turned into a busker. He was calling the people on the streets to come and watch his performance. He then used the repetition sidestep to attract the audience. He could hear cheers from the crowd as everyone thinks that he is a martial artist. And after entertaining the crowd for a while, he asked them for some money. but the crowd quickly looked away and dispersed. He then noticed a rich-looking child on the side. He quickly stopped the child and said that the child has the bone structure of a kung fu genius. He asked for 2 copper coins from the child, and in return, he will teach him a skill. The child introduced himself as Henry, and told Merlin that he doesn't have any money, but Merlin didn't listen. According to Merlin, the child looks rich, so he will definitely have something. Merlin tried to scare the boy, and asked for 2 copper coins if he wants to live. Merlin then promised to teach him an invincible sword art if he can give just 2 coins. As soon as the boy heard about the sword art, he got excited, and asked what kind of sword art is he talking about. Merlin confidently replied that it's a quick draw. But Henry made fun of the skill, as even the regular disciples are uninterested in that skill. He then told Merlin to stop scamming people and find a job for himself. He then gave 2 candies to Merlin and said goodbye to him. Suddenly, Merlin noticed a bishop telling the story of his past. According to the bishop, Merlin killed an army of 100,000 people without any trace. He then noticed some girls saying that even the 233rd hero died after being ravaged by the ugly demon lord. Bishop then showed the holy book to the crowd and told them that the book will protect them from the demon lord and they can have it for just 10 gold coins. The crowd quickly bought all the books from the bishop. This angered Merlin, as they were scamming citizens, and the worst part is they are not giving him a cut after using his name like that. After a while, Merlin was at a pub and was requesting its owner to hire him as a waiter. In front of handsome Merlin, the owner couldn't refuse and said okay to it. The owner then asked Merlin if he is a traveler from outside the village. Merlin replied yes and said that the most he can work is 2 months, as he will have to continue traveling after that, as the curse on his heart hasn't lifted yet, so he still needs to search for strong enemies to extend his lifespan. The owner then did some calculations and told him that as a temporary staff, he will be paid 1 gold coin per month, accommodations and food included. Merlin gets shocked, as she is paying more than he imagined. The owner then told him that in the evening, her pub is only open to females, so Merlin needs to use sweet words and develop intimate relationship to sell them drinks. This shocked Merlin, and this is the moment when Merlin, the demon king of the first palace, realized that he had fallen so far in this other world. Now, he had no other choice but to use his body to sell drinks. And as the owner noticed that Merlin is hesitating, she said that she will pay him extra money when he will resign. The woes of the poor, the prideful demon king chose to yield after all and accepted the job. After a while, Merlin gets ready and started his training for the night. Meanwhile, our hero Alice is on her way to catch a gigolo from Scotland. A year ago, when she was robbed of the armor, she had to bear a great debt. In order to pay back her debt, Alice could only register as an adventurer. Though she is still in a heavy debt, she is the opposite of Merlin, as she managed to get a place to stay, and also could buy a dress or 2. And the moment she got to know about this gigolo, she accepted the mission, as the pay was 5,000 gold coins. She was happy, as catching a gigolo is piece of cake, but the face on the poster is ruined, so she will have to find him first. Meanwhile, in the pub, Merlin was so good in selling the drinks to the ladies. Suddenly, Henry entered the pub and said he is back. Henry was so shocked to see that useless man from before working at his mom's pub. Henry asked his mom that how can she hire a useless guy like him. Even though Merlin is angry with the child's behavior, he kept his smile, as he can't be rude to the owner's child. Henry shouted at her mom and told her to stop hiring unknown people, as this is why the others keep bad-mouthing her. Merlin noticed that Henry's clothes are dirty, so he probably fought with the kids who bad-mouthed his mother. Merlin then put the sword on the table and said that if he wants to get those people to shut up, then he needs to be stronger. But Henry insulted Merlin's skill again and ran from there. The next day, Merlin was listening to a conversation between some adventurers. One of the members said to his partner that in this mission, his share will be 2,000 gold coins. His partner asked with a shocked look that why is he giving him a larger share. The man then looked at their other member, and they both announced that after this mission, they are getting married. Merlin looked at them and knows that this is a death flag. Merlin then asked the group about this mission they are going for. One of the members informed that the quest is to kill 100 goblins and then cut their left ears. Merlin thought that if this is just a goblin hunt, then the group will be fine. At night, the group was fighting the goblins and have already killed 63 goblins. They just need 37 more, and then they will immediately retreat after that. Suddenly, a goblin jumped down from the cliff and killed the group's leader in an instant. A small goblin was sitting on the shoulder of the big one, who introduced himself as the Prime Minister Jejwu, a high-rank goblin magician. This shocked the adventurer as why a high-rank goblin is at such a place. Jejwu then attacked the man with a fire spell. The girl boosted his defense with magic, but as soon as the boy defended the magic attack, he got attacked by the big goblin. Jejwu then ordered the goblins to capture the woman. The man asked the goblins to leave his lover alone, so Jejwu then offered him a deal. Meanwhile, our hero Alice has reached the best inn to stay in this town. She opened the door and was welcomed by the owner. The owner then showed Alice her room, and said that their top boy is going to perform tonight, so if she wants to watch, then she can come downstairs. As Alice was not interested in dance, so she entered her room, and at the same time our boy, Merlin, came out. Inside the room, Alice was remembering the time when she was captured by the pirates. At that time, she was saved by an unknown man, who alone defeated 17 fleets of the pirates. She has fallen in love with the unknown swordsman, and thinks that he must be very easygoing and generous person. She then remembered that she has to write a letter for her master. She wrote that she has been doing well, and she is so rich that she doesn't have to worry about church money or making rent. She added, she also gotten into a relationship between the Elgin's legendary swordsmaster. She then prayed to God to ensure that she never come across that bastard Merlin for the rest of her life. At the same time, Merlin sneezed and was confused, as every day, around this hour, he always sneezes. After a while, Alice came down to drink something, and noticed the women shouting for little Daisy. Meanwhile, Henry was angry and called all of them hoes. Alice tried to teach him that hoe is pretty harsh, and asked him to look at how well dressed they are. But Henry said that all of them are married, and yet they came here to enjoy. He then said that Alice is different, as she is pure and simple. Henry then noticed a gold plate on Alice's waist. He excitedly asked Alice if she is a gold plate adventurer. He then asked her to teach him a skill, as he really wants to learn one. But Alice's skills are impossible to learn without the proper inheritance, so she pat his head, and asked him to drink milk to make his body strong, and then she promised to teach him the skills. Henry got happy and quickly drank a glass of milk. She then heard women shouting, as little Daisy has appeared. Henry told her, this is the useless man, who only knows quick draw. And even though he is completely useless, he's a complete chick magnet, the perfect example of gigolo. Alice quickly unsheathed her sword, and went to capture the gigolo. Merlin thought she looks like that silly hero, but before, her breasts weren't so big. And as soon as Alice went close to Merlin, he grabbed her breast. He then realized that she is using the breast pads. Alice angrily attacked Merlin, but he easily dodged the attacks and asked her to stop, as they have known each other from a long time. He then removed his mask and said, it is me, Alice. In a second, all of Alice's pain has returned to her. Merlin asked if she has forgotten all those lovely nights they spent together rowing the boat. Alice angrily said that because of him, she had to live in shame and attacked him. But Merlin grabbed her and said that killing him for only robbing is a little too far. Unable to do anything, Alice starts crying and told him how much she has suffered because of him. Merlin then heard the other women calling him a scumbag for doing bad things. Even Henry was looking at Merlin in a disgusted way and asked what he had done to Alice. Henry pointed towards Alice and told Merlin that he should be grateful that Alice liked him. But how dare you to take advantage of her love? Merlin thought that if they are going to misunderstand like this, then he won't be able to work here anymore. So in order to prevent that, he quickly hugged Alice and asked her to calm down, as he will buy a drink for her. After a while, all the customers have left, and Alice and Merlin were sitting beside each other. Alice was happy as the iced milk in the pub is so good. Merlin insults her again, but Alice said that she has a boyfriend, Elgin's master swordsman, who will cut him in half. Meanwhile, the owner Martha was thinking that Merlin is popular with girls, as a high-ranked adventurer is his girlfriend. Martha then said that she is going to put Henry to sleep so they can take their time chatting. Alice then asked Merlin to return her armor and she will call it quit. But Merlin nervously said sorry and told her that he already sold the armor, and also he used the money to bet on the ponies at the royal racetrack. Alice was shocked, as the armor worth tens of millions of gold coins, but Merlin have spent it all so quickly. She grabbed Merlin and angrily told him that until he returned her armor, it's not over between them. But Merlin said that she knows who he is, and the moment he snatched it from her, the armor became his. Merlin said that the only thing he can offer in return for the armor is his life. But as he's no longer the Demon King, so they aren't enemies. But if she insists on taking his life, then it would no longer be the case. Alice froze in front of Merlin's murderous aura, but Merlin told her to relax as he won't cause any trouble in Martha's shop. Alice asked that he is strong, so why is he not stealing the armor back? Merlin replied that unlike humans, a contract is a sacred agreement to demons, so he will not break it. Alice replied that he just said that he's no longer a demon king, so why is he hung up on something like this? But Merlin said that even though he is no longer a demon king, but still he is the previous ruler of Pride, so he won't do it. Alice then told him that she is no longer a hero, as the armor was Church's property, and she need to pay them for the armor. And to do that, she need to accept S-rank missions that pay 10,000 gold coins for a single mission, but they are too dangerous to complete. Merlin muttered, reward of one mission is several 10,000 gold coins, and asked Alice if that's true. Alice said yes it is, as the S-rank mission are fraught with dangers. Merlin smiled and thinks that he finally found his next job. He concluded that this is a perfect job for him, as he will kill Saint-rank enemies to extend his lifespan, and earn a lot of gold coins in the process. He then asked Alice what does it take to become an adventurer. Alice said that anyone with aura or mana can become one, and an active adventurer's referral works too. As Merlin doesn't have aura or mana, he starts buttering Alice to refer him. But Alice quickly refused and said that she will never refer a scumbag like him. So that night, they parted on bad terms. A few days later, Martha asked Merlin if he has seen Henry. She told him that she hadn't seen him since morning, so she is going outside to look for him. Meanwhile, the same adventurer from before reached the gate and asked the guards to open it. One of the guards opened the gate to help the adventurer, who cried and said sorry to him. The guards then noticed an army of goblins. The Prime Minister of Goblins then ordered them to kill all the men in the village and steal all their women. The goblins then entered the village and starts killing the men one by one. The adventurer then asked the Prime Minister to release the girl, as he did what they told him to do. But the goblin laughed and killed the man with the fire spell. Everyone inside the village heard the alarm sound, but the goblins came and starts killing them. Meanwhile, Alice noticed the people running to save their lives. An old man told her to run, but gets killed in front of Alice. Alice then killed the goblin with the ice magic. She then challenged the goblins to come and attack her. The goblins attacked her, but she killed them easily. She then created ice wings and flew in the sky while killing goblins. Inside the pub, Merlin was enjoying his time with the beautiful ladies around him. Suddenly, the goblins destroyed the pub's gate and entered to kidnap the women. At the same time, Henry, who was playing with the other kids, noticed that the city is being attacked. He looked down and saw his mom getting kidnapped by the goblins. He tried to save her, but the other kids stopped him from going outside. Inside the pub, Merlin killed the goblins who destroyed the gate. He then noticed the army of goblins, who charged at him. But with just a single strike, he killed all of the goblins. A goblin then informed the Prime Minister that their Western forces were annihilated. Jeju shockingly asked if there was a high ranker, but the goblin said that he couldn't even sense mana from him. He looked like an ordinary human. The goblin then added that even the soldiers stationed at the main street were also annihilated. Jeju then ordered troops to retreat, as they can replenish their numbers with the human females they kidnapped. Alice noticed that the goblins are retreating, so she ran after them. But before she could save the women, she got attacked by the large goblin. She fought with the goblin and was able to kill it, but the goblin's army got away. The village chief then called for everyone to assemble. He said that a lot of people have been taken away, so they all need to go and save them. But the townspeople were scared of the goblins and suggested to forget about the kidnapped women. Henry shouted at the people and said that his mom and the others must be waiting, so they need to rescue them. Suddenly, the people heard the pastor's voice, who said that they won't descend to hell. The people bowed in front of the pastor and asked him to save their family. The pastor then showed them the holy book and said that if they buy the book for 100 gold coins, then their sins will be forgiven. The people were easily fooled by him, but suddenly they heard Alice's voice. She announced that she is a gold-plated adventurer and also the Vatican's 233rd hero, Alice Claudia. But the pastor insulted Alice and called her a disgrace to the church. Alice unsheathed her sword and told him to pray to the goddess if he believes that she will answer his prayers. The pastor quickly falls to the ground and apologized for fooling people. Alice then gave a speech and was able to motivate the villagers to attack the goblins' hideout. The village chief then informed Alice that the Goblin Emperor is a saint-ranked being. Meanwhile, inside the pub, Merlin was trying to calm down the ladies. Suddenly, Henry entered the pub and ran to his room. He picked his father's sword and said that he's going to save his mom. Merlin realized that Martha was kidnapped by the goblins and tried to calm down Henry. But Henry shouted that he will protect his mom and ran from there. Merlin then told the ladies to wait at the pub while he will go outside and take care of everything. At the same time, outside the village, Alice noticed the injured adventurer. She told the adventurer that the villagers are coming and he will be saved. And when the adventurer realized that she is the gold-plated adventurer Alice, he asked her to save his fiancée. Alice then took his adventurer badge and promised him that his fiancée will give it back to him and left. Inside the goblin's cave, the emperor was happy with the prime minister as he captured the beautiful ladies. He told him to send them to the back as he will enjoy the women after taking a bath. Jeju then ordered the other goblins to be ready for an ambush as he knows that the humans will come to save their family. Suddenly, the goblins noticed someone, but before they could do anything, they got killed by Alice. Jeju attacked Alice with magic, but she quickly dodged the attack and knocked him down with a kick. She went inside the cave and killed the goblins who tried to attack her. All the villagers also reached the cave and angrily dashed towards the goblins. Jeju gets up and created a wall of fire to stop the humans from attacking. And as the villagers were running away from the fire, Merlin arrived there. Merlin went close to the firewall, and the village chief told him that they should leave the Goblin Emperor to the silver-haired swordswoman. Merlin smiled and said that she's someone who has already lost to him. He then opened a path for himself without even unsheathing his sword. And as Merlin entered the cave, Jeju attacked him. But the attack didn't even scratch Merlin. Merlin then dashed toward Jeju and killed him in an instant. Meanwhile, Alice reached the cave and freed the ladies from the cell. Suddenly, the Goblin Emperor appeared behind Alice and attacked her. He then tried to capture the women when Alice sealed the Emperor inside her magical barrier. But the Emperor laughed and easily destroyed it. So the battle between the Goblin Emperor and Alice began. At the same time, Henry, who entered the cave, encountered a large goblin. The goblin was about to kill Henry, but Merlin arrived on time and killed the goblin easily. This shocked Henry as Merlin killed the goblin with just one move. Henry then realized that Merlin was never bragging, he really is too strong. Henry then quickly grabbed his leg and begged him to teach the quick draw he mentioned before. But Merlin declined, and as the two were arguing, they heard Martha's voice. Henry told Martha that Merlin is too strong as he killed this goblin with a single strike. Martha then asked Merlin to go and help Alice as she is fighting with the Goblin Emperor alone. Merlin tried to refuse at first, but when Martha promised to pay 3 times the salary, he quickly agreed. Merlin then told them to go outside and left to save Alice. Meanwhile, Alice was caught by the Emperor and was crying in pain. She then smiled as she trapped the Emperor in her trap. Then the icicle blade starts falling from the sky, and while the Emperor was trying to protect himself, she pierced his heart. But to her surprise, the Goblin Emperor healed himself and revealed that a goblin's heart is on the right side, not the left. The Emperor then attacked Alice and smashed her into the wall. He picked her up and said that she is going to be her captive forever. But the next second, his hand was cut down by Merlin, who was carrying Alice. Merlin then put her down in a corner and went close to the Goblin Emperor. Alice looked at Merlin with blurry eyes and thinks that the Elgin's master swordsman has come to save her again. The Emperor laughed as he regrow his hand. The Emperor was continuously attacking Merlin, but Merlin was easily dodging the attacks. The Emperor then offered Merlin to join him and said that he will give him the position of Prime Minister. Merlin laughed at him and insulted the Emperor. This angered the Emperor as he dashed toward Merlin. He attacked Merlin with full power, but Merlin easily dodged the attack. Merlin then attacked the Emperor and cut him in a single slash. Merlin was happy as now his curse will be alleviated for a while. He then noticed the goblin's treasure, but also noticed that the dungeon is falling down. With no other choice left, he left the treasure behind and saved Alice. The people outside noticed a part of the dungeon collapsing, But from the middle of the dust, Merlin appeared with Alice in his hands. The next day, Alice woke up and found herself on her bed. Martha came inside the room and told Alice that she is saved by Merlin last night. After a while, Merlin came to meet Alice. Alice then said thank you to Merlin for saving her life. Merlin replied that he won't accept a simple thank you, he want her to make a referral for him as a payment. But Alice instantly refused and said that she will not do anything for him. Merlin then threatened her by saying that if she doesn't help him, then he will tell the people that the 233rd hero is an ungrateful bastard. Not wanting to hear bad rumors about herself, Alice accepted to help him. Meanwhile, near the fallen dungeon, a black-haired woman was looking for something, and after searching for a while, she picked the goblin's emperor weapon. She used magic on the weapon and found a key hidden inside it. The woman laughed as she acquired the third key of the Hell's Core. A dark portal opened, and a voice asked her if she obtained the key. The voice said that their plan to revive the previous realm has been on the agenda, and as long as they obtain the power of the Hell's Core, overturning Great Britain will be easy. Merlin and Alice then said goodbye to the villagers and left in a cart. Throughout the journey, Merlin and Alice are either arguing or roasting each other. And finally, after a week, they reached their destination, Wrexham. Merlin and Alice then quickly went to the Adventurer Guild so they can send each other away as soon as possible. And as they entered, they noticed an armored man, who is of saint rank. Alice was then welcomed by the guild's receptionist Luja. Alice explained the situation to Luja that Merlin is a fugitive, so he wants to become an adventurer. Luja understands and told Merlin that if he becomes an adventurer, his bounty will be revoked, and he can repay his debt by completing missions. She then asked him to give a test to verify his strength, and also told him the higher the rank, the more the benefits. Merlin put his hand on the crystal ball with full confidence that even the other adventurers got nervous. But everyone got shocked, as according to the crystal, Merlin didn't have any strength. Alice told Merlin to stop fooling around, but Merlin explained that he doesn't have mana, he just uses his quick draw to defeat enemies. Merlin then asked Luja to arrange a fight for him with their strongest adventurer, and if he wins, then he can be an adventurer. Then an old man came from behind and said that he will test Merlin's strength. The old man was the guild master named Taylor. The old man then told Merlin to follow him to the training hall, and also ordered other members to not follow them. Inside the training hall, Taylor told Merlin to attack him with his full power, and if Taylor move even one step, then it will be his loss. Merlin laughed and dashed toward the guildmaster Taylor, and in front of Merlin's overwhelming speed and strength, Taylor was not even able to dodge. But before Merlin's sword can hit the old man, he stopped, but still the power of the slash covered the half city. Guildmaster Taylor fell to the ground, but Merlin told him to not worry, as he just used the back of his sword. Taylor realized that even if he used his full power, he'd still be killed instantly. After a while, Alice and Merlin then left the Adventurer Guild. Luja asked the old man why did he use his full strength on a normal person, because now they need to pay for the damages. Just a slash from the back of Merlin's sword cut the road in half without hurting anyone. Outside, Merlin was happy that he finally become an iron-plate adventurer. Alice and Merlin still roasted each other and left. But as always, Merlin has spent all his savings on the racecourse. At night, Merlin was trying to sell Matchbox so he can earn some money to live and eat food. After thinking for a while, Merlin stood up and decides to freeload a meal from Alice. Meanwhile, Alice was enjoying a bath and was praying for that bastard Merlin to sleep on the street like a beggar. She added that no one heeds the matches he's selling, so he's beset by hunger and cold. Suddenly, Alice heard her doorbell ringing. She opened the door, thinking that it's her landlady. But it was Merlin, who offered to spend a night with her. But as Alice is hostile toward Merlin, his honey trap didn't work on her, as she throws him with a kick. She then heard the doorbell again, so she picked the sword and went to kill Merlin. But this time, it was her landlady, who told her to not use weapons in the house. She noticed Alice and Merlin fighting with each other, so she told Alice to treat her husband well. Merlin quickly get into the role of Alice's husband, and looked at her with teary eyes. Alice angrily tried to attack Merlin, but is stopped by the landlady, who told her if she didn't stop then she will have to leave her house. With no other choice left, Alice went inside. The landlady then told Merlin to take care of Alice, as she had suffered a lot to find this place. She also gave Merlin an extra key, so he can enter again if Alice throws him out. After a while, Alice was shouting at Merlin to forcefully enter her house. but Merlin told her to calm down as he have a great offer for her. He then suggests to rent this house together, and by doing that, they both can save a lot of money. After thinking for a while, Alice agreed to his offer and asked for the rent. But the only thing Merlin had was the racecourse tickets. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe and press the bell icon so you don't miss the updates. After thinking for a while, Alice agreed to his offer and asked for the rent. But the only thing Merlin had was the racecourse tickets. The next day, Merlin was angry at the horse as he has lost all his money in the race. At the same time, a man named Arnold was trying to impress Alice, but she is not interested in him. But an adventurer told Arnold that Alice has already found someone and pointed toward Merlin. This shocked Arnold, and he angrily challenged Merlin to a duel. He showed an AE rank mission to Merlin and said that whoever completes this mission first will be the right partner for Alice. Lugia explained Alice that some robbers snuck into an underground palace and activated the trap. And now undead kept appearing and are attacking the villages, so they have started to recruit recently. Arnold then told Alice that an Saint rank adventurer named Claude is also joining him, so he asked Alice to team up with them. So Alice agreed, and they quickly stamped the contract. Merlin also wants to go, but Lugia told him that if he wants to go, then he will need to gather 2 more teammates first. Merlin quickly selected the drunk adventurer from before, and the guildmaster Taylor allowed them to go with just 2 members. Merlin was thinking that how can he get a carriage when the drunk man arranged it for him. But the next morning, when the man comes to his senses, he asked Merlin to go back, as the mission is too dangerous. Merlin tried to comfort him, but the man thinks that Merlin is stupid, because he is an iron-plate adventurer. Suddenly, they heard someone coming toward them. A knight came close to them and asked if they know the faster way to Denbighshire. The adventurer told the knight that there is a way, but the path is a bit narrow, so they need to walk for a while, as their carriage is too big for the path. This angered the knight, so he tried to hit him with a whip. But Merlin stopped the whip and threw him down. He told the knight to mind his manners, as not only he is not grateful, but he is showing them his attitude. The adventurer tried to stop Merlin, as the knights are from Duke Rose, who is the most powerful person in entire Wales. The knight got up and challenged Merlin to a duel, but a voice stopped him. A beautiful woman named Cecilia came out of the carriage and scolded the knight Kyle for challenging a weakling. She said that they should not stop when just 2 ants are blocking their way. Cecilia then apologized for her knight's behavior, but Merlin disrespected her and told her to show her chest while apologizing. This angered the knight, but he was again stopped by Cecilia, who said that they should not waste time on a weakling. With no other choice left, the knight and Cecilia left. Meanwhile, Arnold is trying to impress Alice and remembers the time when he met her. One day, he was visiting Elgin City to meet his uncle when he noticed a silver-haired girl defeating a giant boar. And when he saw her heroic moves, he fell in love with her. And to win Alice's heart, he quit his life as a noble and becomes an adventurer. He then talked about the Elgin's master swordsman. Claude interrupted Arnold and asked him about this swordsman. Arnold explained that the Elgin's master swordman defeated 2 Saint rank pirates with a single move. But Claude replied that defeating 2 Saint rank is not a big deal. Even in the Saint rank, there are strong and weak ones. Claude then angrily said that this era is not good, as there are fewer real experts and the royals are really incompetent. Arnold asked if Elgin's master swordsman can't be called a hero, then who in Great Britain can be called a hero? Claude then asked him if he heard about the 4 heroes from the previous realm: the dragon taming robber Calzona, the twin sword master Zoe and Joey, and the last one is the Tempest warrior Bernard. He's the war machine on the battlefield, who even fight with a dragon in one-on-one fight, and is also the leader of the 4 heroes. The butler then told them to take some rest, as they have traveled for a long time. While going out, Alice said to Claude that the 4 heroes have died, so they should not compare the deceased with the people now. Alice was sitting alone, and was thinking about Merlin, whether the guild allowed him to participate or not. Suddenly, Arnold appeared behind Alice and tried to impress her again. Frustrated, Alice gets up and said that she is going to look for Claude. She went inside the forest and heard a voice saying, "I am offering my soul to revive the previous realm." Suddenly, Claude appeared and was about to kill Alice, but stopped at the last second. He apologized and said that he thought that she is a robber or something. Alice then said that she came to inform him that they are setting out. Before leaving, Claude asked if she heard something, but she quickly denied it. She thinks that Claude is suspicious, and what does he mean by reviving the previous realm? Meanwhile, Cecilia met Arnold and asked what is he doing here. Arnold explained that he is also here to deal with the undead like her, and he also has a saint rank adventurer with him. Suddenly, the butler shouted and asked Arnold to look ahead. A herd of flaming rhinos was running toward them at full speed. Kyle quickly ordered the other knights to take positions and protect Lady Cecilia at all costs. Cecilia then cast the Holy Light Arbitration on the knights. The knights was in the position to attack the rhinos, but Claude came in front of them. Kyle told Claude to not stand in front, as they should gather together to withstand the attack. But Claude replied that he will not do something like that, and he killed the herd with a single strike. Arnold then introduced Claude to everyone. But Cecilia tried to buy Claude and promised to pay him double if he joined her. But Claude refused her request and left. Cecilia thinks that Claude is strange, and she also sensed faint dark magic from him. She then ordered Kyle to speed up and said that they will try to reach Denbighshire before midnight. She said that the matter of the undead is her trial, and she must solve it herself, so her father will see her in a new light. Later at night, in the Denbighshire Standing Army camp, the soldiers were having a feast, and said that they will kill all the skeletons tomorrow. Claude told Alice to go and enjoy, as he's going to have some rest. Alice was thinking that if Claude is a major criminal, then it's dangerous to team up with him. As Alice went ahead, she gets shocked and falls down. She thought how Merlin is here already when he set out later than her. Merlin was enjoying a sweet time with some beautiful ladies and was bragging about his quick draw. But Alice went close to them and sent the girls away as she wants to talk to Merlin. She asked Merlin how he managed to arrive here faster than her. Merlin replied that it's all thanks to Hobbs, who take a shortcut with her donkey. Alice angrily shouted at Merlin to use her cute donkey without her permission. Merlin also told her that when he whip its butt, the donkey runs faster than the horse. Hobbs then made fun of Alice's flat chest and get punched by her. She then asked him if he knows anything about this Denbighshire's matter, and Hobbs gave her the information in exchange for some coins. He said that there is a tomb of the Prime Minister from the previous realm, and this Prime Minister was a necromancer, so those skeletons and undead were probably summoned by him. Meanwhile, inside one of a tent, Claude is thinking that it's for the sake of the previous realm. Then later at night, Alice noticed Claude going somewhere, so she decides to follow him. Hobbs also saw Alice going after Claude, but he thinks that it's his imagination. She then noticed Claude entering the underground maze all alone. In the morning, Arnold saw Merlin sleeping with someone and pulled the blanket, thinking it's Alice. Merlin woke up with a body pillow and told Arnold that the blanket is a part of him, so there won't be a next time for Arnold. But Arnold told Merlin that Alice and Claude are missing from the tent. Hobbs said that he noticed Alice going to the tomb at night. Merlin thought that Alice is after the high reward, so he quickly changed and decides to go to the tomb. Hobbs tried to stop Merlin, but he didn't listen and left. Meanwhile, inside the maze, Alice was secretly following Claude and was confused because even though it's his first time in this maze, Claude is not getting lost. Claude then arrived at a gate guarded by some skeletons. The skeletons attacked Claude, but he quickly defeated them and went inside. Inside the room, a high-level skeleton was sitting on a throne and asked Claude who is he. Claude greeted the skeleton by saying, "It's been 400 years, Sir Ian," but Ian didn't know him. Claude then put his sword down and asked if he don't remember the Empire's Tempest Warrior. Ian quickly stood up and said that Bernald died a long time ago. Claude then explained that the 4 heroes were revived by the prince with dark magic, and they are functioning as undead now. Ian asked if the prince is still alive, and if yes, then what is he planning this time? Claude said that they need a stronger power to revive the previous realm, and asked Ian to hand over the key that he is protecting. Ian angrily said that if the previous king didn't make a contract with Satan, none of this would have happened. But Claude replied that to acquire power there is a need to make sacrifices, and asked for the key again. But Ian refused to give him the key, and they both prepared to attack each other. Unknown to them, Alice was still hiding, and was watching their intense battle. Meanwhile, Merlin was lost inside the maze, and is worried that someone else might take the high reward if he wastes his time here. He then remembered Hobbs' words that the maze has several layers, so in order to save time, he destroyed the floors to go down fast. At the same time, on the second layer of the maze, Cecilia and her knights were fighting with the skeletons. Kyle said that they could die, but Cecilia stopped him and said that they will definitely escape the maze. Suddenly, a skeleton scared Cecilia and she falls to the ground and lost her staff. And as soon as the holy light disappeared, the skeleton starts approaching the knights. Kyle killed the skeleton who was attacking Cecilia, and she ran to pick her staff. But a high-level skeleton appeared and attacked Cecilia, but she is saved by Kyle. All the other knights got killed by the skeleton, and now only Kyle and Cecilia remained. Kyle asked her to run away, but Cecilia refused to leave him behind. Kyle then attacked with full force and managed to injure the skeleton, but the skeleton pierced him with the spear. The skeleton then threw Kyle on the ground and went close to kill Cecilia. And as it was about to kill her, the roof destroyed and Merlin came down from the hole. Merlin looked at Cecilia and asked what is the daughter of Rose family doing down here. Cecilia explained that she wanted to prove her powers to her father, so she came down along with her knights, but get assaulted by the strong undeads. Merlin laughed and said that her powers are hers, so she doesn't need to prove it to others. And now, because of her foolishness, her knights died. As Merlin was not interested in helping her, he said goodbye to her. But before he could leave, the high-level skeleton attacked him. With no other choice left, he had to kill the skeleton, as it dares to charge at him. Cecilia noticed Merlin's overwhelming power and asked him to rescue them. But Merlin refused and asked why should he help her. Cecilia promised to give him a reward. Merlin thought that she insulted him before, so he should scam her and ask for 5,000 gold coins. He agreed and said that he will help her, but the reward should be. Before he could finish, Cecilia thought that a strong person like him will not be interested in money or fame, so she starts removing her clothes and promised to please him. But Merlin angrily told her to stop, as the only thing he wants is the 5,000 gold coins. Merlin then take out the sword and created a platform for them to stay. He said the undeads can't climb that high, and as he's busy, so he will come back to save them, and left. Meanwhile, Alice was watching the fight and understands why Claude is always talking about the previous realm. She thought that this is bigger than what she can handle, so she should inform the guild master first. Ian insulted Claude and said that his movement has gotten slower. This made Claude angry as he attacked Ian with his skill, but Ian laughed and used his secret arts, the King of Skeletons. And so, a giant magical skeleton appeared. In front of the giant skeleton, Claude used his secret art Tempest mode. But before the two can attack each other, the roof collapsed, and Merlin came down and said he arrived on time. He asked Claude about Alice, while Claude was confused that how Merlin crossed the first and second level undeads. Alice was still hiding, and realized that he broke the layers to reach the boss. Ian angrily asked Merlin, who is he, and how dare he barge into his eternal resting place. Ian attacked Merlin with magic, but to his surprise, Merlin was unharmed by it. Alice knew that magic doesn't work on Merlin, because in the past, the church had suffered a great loss to his anti-magic. Merlin told Ian that he is a skeleton that's worth 5,000 gold coins, so he should be patient. But Ian used the giant skeleton to attack Merlin, and crushed him with a punch. Claude thought that even he could not take a direct hit from the king skeleton, so Merlin must be finished. But to his surprise, Merlin stopped the punch, and was unharmed by it. Ian was confused, as there is no way a person can stop the king's skeleton hammer. Merlin then destroyed the king's skeleton, and killed Ian with a single strike. Claude thought that even from the 4 heroes, no one can defeat Merlin, and if he joins their side, then they will achieve their goal. Merlin was happy that he obtained the 5,000 gold coins, and while leaving, he noticed a key on the floor. And in front of Claude's eyes, Merlin picked the key. Claude then asked Merlin to give the key to him, and in return, Claude will give him 200,000 gold coins. Merlin was shocked to know that this key worth 200,000 coins, and he thought to bet everything on the racecourse. But suddenly, he heard Alice's voice. Alice appeared and told Merlin to not give the key to Claude. She explained everything to Merlin, that Claude is an undead, whose plan is to revive the previous realm. And if he wants the key, this means there must be a big secret hidden in it. Merlin thought that the key is for a treasure, and if he can find that treasure, then he will be able to pay all his debt. Claude concluded that in order to ensure the success of the plan, these two must be killed. He then quickly dashed toward Alice and attacked her. But Merlin stopped Claude's attack and saved Alice. Merlin said that he can't let Alice die, as he doesn't want to pay the full rent. Claude then asked Merlin to hand over the key, and forget about what happened here, then he will let him go. But as Merlin was declining his offer, Alice attacked Claude and managed to injure him. As the holy sword was effective on Claude, so Alice believes that he truly is an undead. Alice then suggests Merlin to work together so they can defeat Claude, but Merlin declined, as he doesn't join hands while fighting someone. Merlin then tells Claude that Alice won't interfere, so now they can have their 1 versus 1 battle. Claude removed his mask and accepted Merlin's challenge. He then awakened his Tempest mode and dashed toward Merlin to attack him. And as Claude was about to strike Merlin, he looked into his eyes and jumped back. As in Tempest mode, Claude's senses are extremely sharp, so he can tell that Merlin is extremely dangerous. Claude said that even though he's scared of Merlin, but this makes him happy because an enemy, on whom he can use his full powers, has appeared. Claude then released his full power and dashed toward Merlin. And after several attacks, he thought that he managed to kill Merlin. But the next second, Merlin swung his sword and slashed Claude. In his last moments, Claude muttered that he killed him, so how? Merlin replied that it was just an afterimage. You are fast but not fast as my sword. Claude then remembered that he was killed before with the same sword and muttered, as expected from the strongest demon Lucifer, and die. Merlin looked at Claude's body and he thought he must have misheard it because he rarely travels, so there's no way someone would know him outside the demon race. Alice then went close to Merlin and tell him that the key might have some secrets, so he need to give it to the country, but Merlin refused. He then offered Alice that since they are acquaintances, they should divide the treasure, but Alice asked how did he know that the key is for a treasure. Merlin then explained Alice that he has a debt of some 1,000 coins, but she has several million on her head, and if she doesn't agree to his offer, then she will be a slave for her entire life. With no other choice left, Alice accepted his proposal, but thinks that she is scammed by Merlin. Merlin then said that there is just one problem: how can they find the key's secret? Alice said that she has a friend who is very knowledgeable, so they can ask her. Suddenly, the two were attacked by the remaining undead, who were attracted by the mana of the key. Merlin then told Alice to not drag him down as they walked toward the undeads. A few moments earlier, the soldiers outside the maze were ready for the battle. Hobbs and Arnold were together, and as soon as the battle begins, they both quickly ran from the battlefield. But before they could escape, they were attacked by the 3-headed skeleton. And as the skeleton was about to kill them, it disappeared in front of their eyes. Not just the skeleton, all the undead vanished, and the soldiers celebrate their victory. Hobbs and Arnold then quickly stood up and praised themselves. After a while, the leader gave 5,000 gold coins to Alice for defeating 2 saint rank beings and the army of undead. Alice tried to explain that it was Merlin who did all of that, but the leader couldn't believe that an Iron Plate adventurer can beat 2 saint ranks. Meanwhile, Hobbs and Arnold were telling Merlin that they defeated the 3-headed undead on their own. The leader then told a messenger to inform the queen that 2 saint ranks individuals from the previous realm had a battle, and when both of them weakened, Alice, a gold plate adventurer, gave them a final blow, and Merlin, an iron plate adventurer, has witnessed this. Meanwhile, in another place, a man was cursing Bernard as he was not able to bring the key back. The other members of the 4 heroes were bowing in front of the man and asked the man to calm down as he need to take care of his body. The man then asked Calzona about the investigation of Bernard's death. She explained that Bernard and the necromancer Ian had battled and were weakened when a gold plate adventurer gave them their final blow. She added that according to her, the key is probably with that adventurer. The man then ordered the other 2 members, Zoe and Joey, to stay and protect the shrine, and ordered Calzona to head to Wrexham and take the key from that adventurer. 2 days later, Luja welcomed Alice and showed her the news of her defeating the 2 saint rank beings. Merlin then asked Luja to give him his money. She explained that Merlin has earned 6,000 gold coins from the mission, and after deducting their debt, the total is 1,800 gold coins. Merlin and Alice then angrily asked Luja that why did she calculate their debt and reward together. Luja replied that according to the documents, the 2 of you are married, so all of your wealth will be combined. Alice then angrily asked the guild master about the documents. Taylor explained that in order to register Merlin as an adventurer, he used the loophole and register Merlin as Alice's husband. Also during the time of registration, Alice said that she will be the guarantee for Merlin. Merlin and Alice then asked Luja if they can change this married relationship. Luja replied yes you can, but first they need to show her their divorce certificate. Alice then heard Merlin's muttering that his debt was just some thousand. Alice was several million, and now he need to shoulder all of it. Alice smiled and thought that karma has hit Merlin, as he was the reason she is in this huge debt. Merlin then quickly quit being an adventurer and tried to leave, but Alice stopped him and said that he has to take responsibility for this, as no matter where he goes, he will still be a wanted criminal. Lugia then smiled and informed them that there is a rule for married couples that they must take a mission together or she won't approve it. She explained that in the past there was a pair of adventurer couple where the wife went on a mission and cheated on her husband, so the guild made this new